All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, The Hidden World of Birthdays by Judith Turner. I guess I'll be reading that. I grabbed a book. So I want to start doing something. I want a bookshelf in here somewhere. I just don't know where I'm going to put it. Probably under that shelf there, but I don't want to block the doodadder. Can't block doodadders. Could put a bookshelf over here. That'll block the floor doodadder. That's kind of okay because it's not in use anyway. I don't know. My hunch says a bookshelf would be a real pain in the ass right there just because it's right at the entrance. I can't put it there because that's my filming wall. I had to turn the light on. I got to fix the switch in that, but I just plug it in, unplug it, oh, no, no. It's starting again. Oh, no. The doom, the doom. I just say it's so dark out and miserable out there, but I got quite a bit of work done out there. Oh, I don't want to even look at that. Ugh, I don't want to look at that. Um, I actually burnt a little bit today, moved a lot of scrap metal. Getting my floor back. I have to go through all this stuff to see what can stay outside and what stays in because it's my tools and stuff. And here, I'll put on a light so you can, just like that. So that's all I got left there. Once that's cleared out, no problem. Because I vacuumed my closet, I'm starting to get stuff in there. Got the fan going. It's still smoldering out there. Well, sort of. I gotta clean Marvin's mess on there, but what I did is I put just for now, I threw my toolbox, pulled out here, toolboxes and stuff over there. Some motorcycle parts, actual motorcycle, with Marvin friggin' doing all his Marvin stuff. Oh, that's snowing now. I knew it was coming. Oh, I have a hunch it's going to be a very messy Remembrance Day. So, but yeah, no, I vacuumed in here a little bit yesterday. Got the vacuum under there. That's a good that was gooder. That was gooder. I did some vacuum, most of the vacuum in there, so I'm not quite ready for Operation Pine Sol, but yeah. So I got to go through all this stuff, see what's going to stay inside, what goes outside. Like for example, stuff like this, you leave it outside and it freezes, and suddenly, like you got your $18 bottle of Lepage's glue is solid as a rock. Every garage has a solid as a rock Lepage's glue bottle because they left it out during the winter. It's my first snowfall down here. Wow. Well, as me, running the place. So I'm slowly cleaning up. I didn't get to any recording today. It's just like I ended up doing about 3 hours worth of work, and it's just like, okay, I was only going to do like an hour to 2 hours, but once you start getting into it, and I really made a big dent in the woodshed. Lots to go, but if I can get that stuff out of here this year, that's great. If not, it'll be out in the spring. I got lots of scrap metal here, like lots, and a bunch up home too. About 200 feet that way, or well, more like 200, about 150 yards that way. It's not quite, a little more than 200 feet. But yeah, no, I want to get everything kind of cleaned up and whatever. Because I'm going to be spending a lot of time in here once the snow's really on the ground. The good news is that the plow guy can go anywhere he wants. I even started burning some of the raspberry briars today. It was more like a smoldering than a burning, but starting to get rid of that stuff too. Uh, the uh, the good news about that is that in the spring, like I'll know like all the stuff that the brush cutter is going to hit stones, metal pieces of wood. I'll see where it all is before the snow gets too thick, and I'm going to see like even if the snow is like a couple inches on the ground, I could still brush cut a little bit if the weather's nice enough, right? So I'll brush cut a bit, but that might be it for those tools for the season. But chainsaw, I can do a lot of chainsawing, and I'm going to do a lot of chainsawing. But I'm gonna wait till like I got like a couple of days off in a row so that I can spend time cleaning up in here. Uh, I could spend time, working in the barns. Keep filling the the garbage bins. You know what I mean? Like every week there's going to be stuff going out, a bin a week, whether it's recycling or garbage. But I think I'm getting down to the wire with the recycling. I think I'm going to get probably about another two or maybe, I think maybe three bins max, and that'll be good. And then it'll just be like regular week to week stuff, which is with me would take me, at my consumption rate, it'd take me a year to fill a bin. Like I really don't buy a lot of stuff, right? Um, like and most packaging I burn, so unless it's plastic. Plastic is like the only thing that's really going into the recycling bin is glass and plastic. Uh, Everything else, like wood, I'm not going to put wood in there because it's burnable, right? I'm not going to put paper in there because it's burnable. You know what I mean? So there's no point in me, taking 10 times longer because if you just put cardboard boxes in there, I probably burnt 1,000 cardboard boxes, give or take, right? So it's like that much space just from the cardboard boxes. Uh, like the amount of containers, I probably threw out like 2,000, 3,000 containers. Just glass jars. I mean, 10 years worth of stuff, and then stuff that was here, Tupperware, that my grandmother's old Tupperware stuff, like years and years and years of stuff, right? Just getting rid of it all, So, but I brought the shop back down, and I can't hang on to it too long. But my goal is just to get around like in the registers and get as much of the rest of the dog hair out. If I bring that thing down every 2 months, that's fine. Uh, and I smell a little smoky. Standing a little too close to the burner, I guess. But yeah, once I get like a once over with the back vacuum, I'll bring it back. I'll do a little bit more today because I did all there. Did all like the idea is to get all the dog hair out from underneath the edges and crooks and crannies and stuff like that, and even the registers, the parts that I can reach, get that like just clean it all out. I gotta dump that thing, so don't know what I'm gonna dump it into. I guess I'll get another garbage bag. Got all my pop bottles ready to go for the big mission. I'm gonna see if I can borrow my dad's truck at about mid-month and go up to Gracefield, get rid of all the pot. Like I got like, well, since June, that was my last pop bottle run. So I probably got about $40 worth of pop bottles easy, plus all the cans that they get. I think my dad's just been throwing them out just because I haven't been taking them away. But I'll take the loss for now. You know what I mean? But like the way I look at it, it's money. Like I make a couple of $100, $200-300 extra a year just on pop bottles. Like they're 10 cents a piece, and it recycles. So, but it's the main thing that they're 10 cents a piece. So, you know, every time I go up there, it pays for the gas there and back. And a meat stickers and a thing of Pepsi or something like that. That works pretty good for me. So my goals are being reached very, very, like I'm on a great timeline. Like the amount of big metal objects that I took out of the woodshed today wasn't that significant, but bed frames, that door, the door, I don't know, I might have to kind of stuff that on the bottom. I'll have to cover it with a piece of tin or something. I just, I want to get rid of it, right? So it's like, again, all the stuff that I'm getting rid of is not going into the large waste pickup. So you get rid of all that scrap metal. There's probably already a ton of metal. Well, there's more than a ton of metal here. I've probably got 2 or 3, maybe even 4 tons of metal. You start adding up all those stoves and everything. Depends on how much old farm equipment I'm actually going to be getting rid of. Anything like plows and stuff like that, no, I don't get rid of that. Anything rustic or antique, I'm going to keep that. All the horse stuff. But like pieces of broken leaf springs, stuff like that, I'm not going to keep, right? There's no point. Like the piles and piles of spark plugs that my grandfather used to have, old boxes of rusty nail, it's like once you get into that stuff, it's just like that stuff you don't keep at all. Like, oh, there might be some good nails. Yeah, there'll be out of like 10,000 nails. There's like three of them that are good. Throw it out. Oh, but nails are, throw it out. It's been sitting there for 45 years. Throw it out. You know what I mean? It's weight. So get rid of 50, 60, 100 pounds of nails, like 300 pounds of nails. I mean, like it adds up, for the scrap metal. And it's less likely to get in people's tires. You make more space. Uh, like once I start burning the dilapidated barn parts and like there's a lot of work there. I don't know how much of that I'll get done this season, but I'll burn. If I have like 3 days off in a row, my chainsaw looks bored. I might as well, I got a full thing of gas there. Okay, so I'll fall a few trees and then, cut all the branches. I'll saw the stove wood up, whatever, pick it up in the spring. But the idea is just keep falling stuff, brush it out over the winter. Even if there's stumps this high in the spring, I don't care. That's easy to deal with. You know what I mean? Brush is harder to deal with. So the more I can clean out this year, the easier it is next year. Like I'm way ahead of schedule for a lot of stuff. Once I'm done the actual cleaning of the place, round one, it's a place. You're gonna have to sweep it every week. You're gonna have to, You don't just clean it once and that's it, right? But all the garbage is out of here per se, right? This place now produces very little garbage. There's still garbage in the woodshed. There's still a couple of bags of clothes. There's other little things. But as every time I take some of that stuff out, I find other stuff. But most importantly, I can know what's in there because I can get to the bottom. I can get to the actual physical ground. And then once I'm at the physical ground, I can start to place things places. The two biggest items in there is the couch and the bed, the mattress, right? And those things, I'll wait till next year for the large waste pickup. But once those two big items are out of there, the amount of space I'm going to have in there, I could start getting, when I cut the wood, I'm going to pile it in there, right? And I just dry out the wood. And then once I do get a wood stove in here, wherever I put it, life will be pretty spectacular. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very happy that the amount of metal I got out of the woodshed ready to go. Right? I didn't want to have it in between the barns like that, because it just looks so bad. But then I'm just like, for practicality purposes, when my buddy shows up with his trailer, if we fill that trailer just once this season, that's about 2.5 to 3 tons that trailer can pull, right? That is a lot of scrap metal out of here that I don't have to deal with next year, which means I can get an earlier jump on other projects such as the tree pruning in the spring. I think it'll be probably late May, early June before I do any tree pruning. Just going by what my client, her recommendations, because she's her dad was a world-renowned botanist, and that's what she's done her entire life is sell flowers and vegetables. And if you need to know how to grow something, she is the person to talk to. If you need to know how to prune your tree properly, she is the person to talk to. She's much older, she can't do it anymore, right? So, I've probably learned more in 3 years with that lady about gardening and stuff like that than I've ever learned my entire life. Just the little tips and tricks. It's wow, wow, just wow. You know what I mean? But that's what you should do when you learn stuff. The more you know, the less you need, right? I remember hearing some older guy talking about that with permaculture. The more you know, the less you need, and it's true. It's so true. You don't need a lot in your life to be happy, right? You don't need clutter. Clutter makes people unhappy. I get a bit of a rush out of every time there's a full bin. It's yeah, that's gone. It's just the dream. The vision is carving its way out for you, and what the place is going to look like. My relatives are all they're ecstatic what I'm doing down here. They're just and I mean I haven't really done that much, but just a little bit I've done. is been, like they're wild, like, wow, just wow, do whatever you want. Like they see me running around with the chainsaw, just go ahead. Do you mind if I cut? Yeah, go ahead, do it. Just do it. Don't even ask, just do it. So when I clean out the barns and all that, and start following, especially when I start following the trees in that corner, my aunt is just going to be ecstatic with that. She'll probably say, "Yeah, keep the wood. I don't care." I'll share it. Like, but she mainly uses the heat pump anyway. And she has lots of wood, and I still got to cut up that tree for. But I'm gonna wait till probably next week to do that when I know I'm really when it's really slow. You know what I mean? But with me, you never know. Like it could pick up like that, and then suddenly I'm working 7 days a week again, like I was a week ago. This week I did 5 days. For November, that's pretty damn good. You know what I mean? They're not full 8-hour days, but you're working every day. But that kind of throws you off a little bit too. But like for the recording, I like to have the whole day just to record and stuff. So I didn't record today just because But there's also okay. I'm gonna have lots of time to do that over the winter. Uh, I'd rather you know bust my ass now cleaning up the place and whatever. I checked out um, my grandmother's cast iron stove that's in the granary. It's not looking good. I might have to get rid of that one. I know some of it is broken, but the big one is that the other one is rotted at the bottom, so it is done. But I'm not sure between the two of them if I can, get one working because I would love to be able to keep one of those, especially if it was my grandmother's, right? I was actually that was one of the things that I was looking forward to resurrecting down here was one of those. I'm not going to throw it out right away. I'm going to see if I can get between the two of them if I can fix things. If I can't, I can't. Whatever. I'm not going to hang on to it for the sake of hanging on to it. I'll get rid of it for scrap. But I want to get the hot water tank out of there and that other stove out of there, and then the other stove and dryer and the fridge. So I got, and then another that other heater, and then like I got like probably just a ton in just that stuff. You know what I mean? Um, but like some of it, I gotta cut a path to it with the chainsaw just so I can get it out of there, right? Like that other stove, so that can go next year. There's no real rush on that one. Um, but the thing is once I clear out the barns and the granary and the stable, at that point I can start to do stuff with it. Now, what will I do? Because it's not mine, right? I mean, I'm just renting here. It's not mine. But I think the way people are going to approach it, is, the family's going to approach it, is that if he's doing something with it, let him do it. You know what I mean? Will I ever get a horse? No. I like horses. I'm not a horse person, but I like horses. But a horse is something that if like if you just want to make yourself even more poor and just want to be a slave to a horse, get a horse. Like you'll be cleaning that thing cleaning out the stable 3 times a day. You know what I mean? Like at least once a day, because you leave a stable get dirty for a week with a horse. That is a lot of labor intensive work. Like people like they like having these pets, but they don't realize what's involved with it, right? Feeding it, grooming it, the fact horses get sick all the time, and the vet bills are like outrageous. So I'm not really looking at animals like that. Birds, yeah, chickens, turkeys, maybe a pheasant or two, something like that, something small and manageable. Pig, a meat pig. But that, like, I mean, the meat pig, I'll be raising it for the whole family. Like, it's not just for me. Well, okay, yes, I can't wait to walk out to the barn and go, piggy, and he goes, like, and he's all happy because I'm going to be throwing food at him, not realizing I'm like tendering, getting all plump for, you know, whatever for the slaughter. But like yeah, I have a couple of little animals. My nephew will come down. He'll you know see the chickens, the laying hens, so that the girls, they'll come down, they'll probably feed the chickens with me and stuff like that. You know, like my little cousins and stuff like that. You know, just because like I want the place to be I want people to look at it with a kind of Garden of Eden kind of, you know, apple of the eye kind of thing, right? No reference to the actual apple, but like the apple of my eye. You know what I mean? Where it's like, wow, just like, like I want somebody to stand in my yard and just go, wow, oh look at that, wow, oh look at those flowers over there, oh wow, look at that tree, look at the apples on that tree, oh wow, look at the grapevine, oh wow, look at that nice statue, oh you know what I mean? Like I want that. Um, Not so much home and garden, but that kind of idea. Yes, okay, you have this, immaculate yard surrounded by an old dilapidated house, But that's got its charm too, because one of my old clients, I work for his daughter now, but he's in a home. Uh, like the guy was a multi-millionaire, and he stayed in this old rusty, like rustic, like the place was much rougher than this, and and right beside was this like like picturesque little log cabin, that is is he'd have guests stay there, he would have his all his kids would stay there, and he'd stay in this old kind of rundown cottage. But the whole property, it was like 10 acres, and it looked like a park. It was just, I loved what he did. I just really loved what he did with it. And I maintained that ground for me and another guy. We maintained that for quite a few years. Carl was working at it for, well, when I started, he was already there for 23 years, right? And I've been off and on between the two properties 8 years, maybe. I don't think I did 10 years worth of work there yet, though, because I like in 2014, after my mom passed, a couple of months after my mom passed, I had quit to become a YouTuber, right? And I was a YouTuber forever and a day. But then I had to start working again, and strangely enough, about 3 or 4 years ago, uh, the guy that I used to work with there, the old mayor, his daughter's now the mayor. Uh, oh, my dad got reelected, just so you know, for as counselor. So did my aunt; she got reelected. My friend Amanda, she got elected, yeah, as a counselor. So I don't, but no one was running against her, so she just automatically won. So there was no. I was looking forward to voting for her, but she wasn't even on the ballot. It was just like well, nobody's running against her. She just wins by default. Good for her. Hopefully she'll won't regret joining it, but we'll see. Man, I think I smoked myself out with the raspberry briars. Or I smell like a smoky raspberry kind of like hickory kind of smell. So it's all in my beard. Standing too close to the freaking. Well, it was just smoke. It was all wet. Hey, so I just burned it. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, as I was saying, the the idea around here is to make everything look really good. You know, like there's that little small shrub. I'm going to cut it down, but my two lilac bushes are those were my grandmother's favorite lilac bushes ever, right? And they're god awful big. I got to trim them back. That part I have to do. If not, they're already out of control, right? My brother never trimmed them, and the problem is lilac bushes last until they don't, right? And that was what was happening with my other client, who like like everybody goes by her yard now. I remember the first year, that was about 3 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, that I started working for her. She's like literally, one, two, three, four, 5 houses down, technically, about halfway through the town, right? And I mean, everything there was just out of control. Like the lilac bushes were out of control, but they were kind of thin looking. The blossoms weren't very big, which is a lot of dead sticks in there and stuff like that. And I've been pruning them every year, and I've taken them down a lot. Now, like when you get the blossoms, they're this big. You can smell them from like 100 feet away. It's Love the smell of lilac bush, right? But it looks good. Her her pear tree when I pruned that, but I took a lot off of that tree. But her pears were like that's like I mean, if those things fell and hit you in the head, it would kill you. But it was the most pears she ever seen on that tree, just because of all that growth went, all the dead stuff that I cut off, all that growth went through the into the pears. So same with the apple tree, same with like all that stuff. And like I told her, I said it takes about 3 years to get everything looking good. You know what I mean? That's normal. That's normal, right? Because you got to think it's first year you can cut everything down, but to get rid of all the stumps, the amount of stumps I've taken out in the past 5 years for people, it's unbelievable. You know. So the thing is that I love I love it when I do stuff like that for people, and I see like I'll go by somebody's property and I can already see the finished product. You know what I mean? And just it's the look on their faces when they see how it progresses so quickly. Like there's a lot of satisfaction in that. The art of the craft, right? And but I also want to do that for myself. Like I'm not a flower guy. I'm not a flower guy. So if anything, I'd buy flowers from my client. Say, okay, well, you should probably give me some anyway. Here, plant these, because I think she kind of, wants to see this project kind of succeed too. You know what would go good there, whatever. Anything that brings in the bees for my garden, because that garden, I want like people to be terrified to walk into that garden because everything's so freaking big and whatever. Like I want corn stalks 25 feet high. They don't grow that high, Reg. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They will grow that high if you can get a 15-foot stalk, 12-foot stalk. If you do you play your cards right. 20 feet, I've seen them that high. It's rare, but it's like, but that's like really concentrated. You went like above and beyond with the manure and whatever. Yes, can be done. I want sunflowers that actually come back every year, and I want monster sunflowers, monster like big, big. My friend, when she was living about halfway through the town, she now lives out in the neighboring town. Did a bit. She was the one that I did all that, got rid of all that kitty litter for. I'm constantly finding myself cleaning out barns. Right? She has like a little shed barn about the size of my woodshed, and like every now and then she's like, Reg, can you do bring your truck over and do another cleanup in that shed? Well, what it is I like they do a lot of laundry there because there's like 3 or 4 girls that live in that house, right? So the laundry's going, and it's almost all like detergent things, and like so what happens, I guess, is like they fill like every week they fill the recycling and the garbage or whatever. That's normal, but there's always more of those jugs that eventually the jugs get like then they have to start piling them into the cardboard and all that stuff. Like they end up with so much recycling that they can't get rid of it all, right? So she pays me, and I come and I haul it to the eco center for her and whatever. I haven't talked to her in a little while. Last thing I did for her was that the little garden bed there. So I saw flowers in it, but I didn't see how well it came out, and I think it may have regrown over again. Like I told her, I said I could take all the topsoil off, but it's the seeds in there. You got to get it scratched up each year just so it doesn't get too bad. So she hasn't called me back to get me to do it again, but it would be a good idea if she doesn't have time for it to. If not, it'll just overgrow again, and then whatever. So because that was a big job, that was like a week, to dig that. But it looked good. It was almost heart shaped. I give it a little bit of a you know raised bed or flower gardens around here. Well, there's still some that my grandmother had. Like around the oak tree, like the oak tree, I got to make a decision on it. My dad and I were talking about it. He's like, well, he says the problem with the oak tree is it's really close to the septic, and eventually it's going to go crashing into the septic, and then you're going to have to get a new septic. So, do I sacrifice the oak tree for the septic, or do I start saving up for a new septic? Right. That's the question. And there's a part of me that says that oak tree has the potential to outlive me, and it's beautiful. Right. Uh, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a nice oak tree. Yes, it's small and whatever, but like in the fall, you look at it, it looks so nice. Yes, it kind of blocks the sunset a bit, but it also is a bit of a shade tree, in July and August. So I'm like I do have to trim the branches so I can get the freaking riding mower around it without getting whacked in the head. But no, I don't know. I might, because it could be another 5 or 10 years before that actually becomes a problem. And if I'm constantly putting a house fund away, $20 every day that I work, at some point I might have 10 grand just sitting there just for something like that. But I'll see how much it costs to do that, and then go from there. Like if I put in a weeping, or if I put in a new what you call it, septic tank, even if I don't need one. If I put in a new one, the like the newer ones that'll outlast your grandkids. You know what I mean? And I would like to have one that's easier access, because like digging like all the new ones with the plastic top, easy peasy. You know where it is. You don't have to dig it up. They're insulated enough. It's better than those old fucking heavy cinder block ones, right? Those things crack more stuff. Well, they're all. There's vines and vices to each one. But the thing is vines and vices is fine as long as you don't got oak roots in there. But mind you, maybe that might make the oak tree grow like 10 times faster. I don't know. All the nutrients, or maybe it's not nutrient. I don't know. I don't know. But I got to decide on that anyway. My dad says you better decide soon because that it isn't getting any smaller. But I'm like, that's what I like about it though. So I don't know. But that's like, at least 5 years away before I have to worry about that. I'm more concerned about what I'm going to do about the basement and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I'm really ecstatic about Got to say it properly. About the like cleaning out of everything, right? Like that woodshed. I'm. Do I knock it down next year, the year after, and make a lean-to there, wood lean-to there? I'm not sure. Like once I get it cleaned out and visualize it a bit more, like obviously that thing's like falling in on itself and stuff. It's all pressed chip in there. When my dad and my uncles and my grandfather built it, like my grandfather died in 1986, right? God rest him, 86 or 87, and like he built that in. It was built, I would say. Well, I was still a kid going to school. Like to say 1984, 85. Because, well, no, it might have been 1983 or 82 because my brother wasn't born yet. Yeah, so that's been sitting. It was dug out into the hill, right? And it was dug back far enough, and my grandfather was going to do. Like, you have to understand that building sunk about 3 feet, right? So, over the years, like the window's almost at ground level now, but it used to be about 2 or 3 feet higher. So it's just the erosion of everything. It's sunk down so much. But I think what he was going to do was put like a retaining wall or something up around it just to keep, But then just everything eroded into it, and then once he ended up in the hospital, that was it, right? And it never got finished. So all those years, the base of it has been sitting basically with sand up tight to it. It's rotted out, but yet it's still standing, right? So, it's still standing. So, it ain't broke, don't fix it. But on the other hand, it would look great if I, did away with it. Like, I remember this house before the veranda, like the veranda and the woodshed were built at the same time and they joined into each other, right? And my brother got rid of the joining piece from the woodshed to the veranda because it was so rotted out and stuff like the veranda has a lot of soft spots in the floor, right? Like that veranda could be torn away and then rebuilt again. But I'm like, it's fine. It doesn't have to be a perfect veranda. I could always throw a sheet of plywood down, where the soft spots are. But what was happening is it's just the way the snow would build up there. It rotted the whole wall on that side of it, and that's probably has a lot to do with the the shifting of the building and everything, just all that weight there, and then just all the moisture just trapped there, right? Because that's where everything it'd be a big pool of ice, and then a big thing of snow, and then a big pool of ice, and then it'd take forever to dry out, right? Where when my brother knocked it down a couple of years ago, the only thing is he never cleaned it up, and that's what I'm cleaning up now, and that's what day one with my brush cutter when you heard the tongue, that's what I hit, right? So there's still a chunk of it, but I burnt most of that. That's mostly all gone now. Like my brother burnt quite a bit of it. He just never got it all done because it was completely enclosed, right? So he already got rid of a lot, but it's just he was overwhelmed, working 40 hours a week, you know, taking care of the family, all that. He got overwhelmed with it and just couldn't keep up to it. Right? For me, it's a little different because I'm more seasonal. I've got more. He didn't have a chainsaw, so he had to basically bust that thing down by hand, and with a hammer and whatever, and basically see what he could skill saw. I think he had a skill saw, so he had that. But like skill saws don't work on everything, right? Like some stuff is just too thick. So that's what I burnt was what he couldn't do, right? But I was able to hack it up with a chainsaw, so you know, easy peasy for me, you know. And I got a little bit of it left there, and then I got that other chunk there. But the thing is I wanted to clear up around the building. I still got some cinder blocks lying around the building, but like getting all those like the briars and everything knocked down because I do want to be able to get in tight to the building with a riding mower. You know what I mean? The tighter I can get to it, the easier it is to maintain the place because I don't want anything up against the building whatsoever. I have this rule with all buildings. You put stuff up against the building and then all the shit goes in behind it and then goodbye building, right? Never put things against the walls of your building. Just go put it somewhere else. Make a pile somewhere else. Because you can't cut the grass, you can't whippersnip properly. You can't, it holds the moisture in, all the bad things that happen, right? So, yeah, so like today has been a good day getting the metal out. The fact that I'm in the barns now, when I get those barns, like for example, all the canoes up there, I'm going to tell my dad, well, we can store them in the barn down there, and then I can actually restore some of these damn canoes, and maybe we could sell some of them and keep the good ones and whatever. The truck, I wish I could get the truck into one of the barns, but it's not going to happen because I wouldn't mind it if I had a spot to work on both of those trucks. I wouldn't care if it took me 10 years to restore my uncle's truck. That'd be awesome, But the longer it sits out there, the worse it's going to be. So, but I start clearing stuff. Next thing you know, I've got a spot for my trucks, and I can take it away from my dad's. It looks better for my dad. Not look out and see old trucks and boats and stuff. But if I can get rid of them, that would be the best. I mean, it'll be sad to get rid of my uncle's truck. Obviously, Thunder, I love that truck, but getting rid of my uncle's truck is the nostalgia of it, right? God rest him. The sailboat, well, it's just when am I ever going to get to? Like, I was looking at the sailboat as a kind of a bit of a retirement project too, but I mean, it was a functioning boat, but now it's starting to dilapidate just because of how old it is. Like, I mean, that boat's from 73, 76, or 79 or 80. I can't remember what it's because the way they built those boats is they built the hulls one year, they built the deck the next year, and they finished them off the year after, kind of thing, right? So I can't remember what that boat's title is, but you know, as good as that boat is, fiberglass doesn't last forever, and once the fiberglass is done, then that's going to be a hard decision for me. But I'm going to have to cut up that boat and get rid of it for scrap, right? And mind you, I have a ton of lead, literally a ton of lead. It's 2,200 pounds of lead underneath that boat. Okay, so that's worth a lot. It's worth a lot. It's basically a couple of $100, of scrap metal, and then all the stainless that's on a sailboat, all the aluminum that's on the sailboat, you know. But I might even be able to sell the mast as it depends. Like the boat, it depends if it can ever be surveyed again. Like it's not beyond repair in the state it's in, but I don't know how many more years I get on it. You know what I mean? At some point, a decision is going to have to be made. You know what I mean? And like it's just time. It's just there's not enough time in a lifetime to get everything you want done. Right? That's just the way it is. So is what it is. Make the decisions. But the thing is getting rid of all the stuff down here this year means next year it's just get on to the projects of making the place look, really, really nice. Like, I mean, early spring, I'm going to have pretty much, the gardening stuff started down here. The nice thing about down here is there's so many windows that I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 windows right here. You almost get morning to night sunlight coming in here early spring, right? And I'll be able to get an early start on my plants and the garden and everything like that. And if that's the case, the upside is that I get a really nice garden this year to the point where, like, if I can match my aunt's garden, you should see the garden she grows. Like, it's unbelievable. If I can match that, but mind you, she spends all her time in the garden because she's retired, right? Um, so the point I'm making is that if I can match that, I could probably grow enough, maybe not enough food to feed everybody, but like enough that it is great supplement. You know what I mean? Probably about you save a couple of $100 a year just in extra vegetables and stuff. Plus, just the aesthetic of it and the enjoyment of it, right? So that's what I got going on. So I'm going to have to go through, as I get rid of the junk, I have to go through everything I own, every tool, see what I'm going to keep, see what I'm not going to keep. I'm always for getting rid of stuff if I can. But I'm also, at some point you just got to say, when do you say when, right? Like, okay, you keep this. Are you ever going to really use it? You got to be able to separate the utility from the nostalgia, right? So, and that's where most people have the biggest problem is utility from nostalgia, and that's where you get hoarders. I'm not a hoarder. Like I got pop bottles, but that's just because my vehicle's broken down, right? But that's money. I'm not gonna throw out money if I can, you know. But yeah, I'm happy to like show you guys the journey too. Of you know you know for those that are actually following, like who cares, right? But the thing is that it's neat to see. where it was 2 months ago and how much it's actually changed in just, well, we're sorry, 3 months. We're now at the beginning of the third month, right? And just like how fast this place has turned around in just like little 3 months. So what's it going to look like in 3 years at the rate I'm going? You know what I mean? Like most people don't stay on top of, they don't stay on top of stuff like that, right? They hit a comfort level with their home, and that's it, and it stays there, and it never gets nicer, it never gets, doesn't get any worse, but it doesn't get any better, right? So they cut the grass, but they don't clean up that little extra to expand and stuff. Some people do, and the people that do, those are the places that have been this, the really nice, Garden of Eden kind of home aesthetic, right? And I know next year I want to see a lot of color around, but outside. You know what I mean? Like in here, yeah, I'll keep it drab. I'll keep it, clutter free. Like I say, once I get the piano in here and maybe a bookshelf, there's nothing else really that I'm going to be bringing in. There might be a couple of little extra items because I have almost everything from up there down here, and not everything's in its place yet. But as I go through everything, it will be. And once it is at that point, it becomes like, okay, just manage it for what it is, and then modify what you want better. Improve where you want to improve. So anyway, I guess that's all the babbling I'm going to do for today. I'm going to even start reading a little book. Start reading books. I'm at that age where I should start reading a bit more. You know what I mean? Read a book, finish a book, get rid of it, give it away, whatever. Or if I really like the book, hang on to it. We'll see. Because I would like to have a bookshelf, like a nice bookshelf. Maybe I'll build one. Maybe I'll build one out of old barn board or something. I don't know what I'll do. Because like next year, like next spring, I'm gonna refinish the table and the chairs. I might have new chairs coming. I'm not too sure. There's all kinds of things that I can do, right? So the thing is that my goal is clean the place out and then get it set up the way I want, and then at that point make it a like I say, the idea is you want to create a place where you like to be. You know what I mean? And what happened for my poor brother is that he didn't like to be here. You know what I mean? Like she didn't like to be here. My nephew didn't like to be here because of the the issues that they had, right? With the the mustiness, the mold, the dogs. They love the dogs. Don't get me wrong, but the dogs created a lot of problems with the smell. Like most of the smell in here wasn't mold or musty. Okay, the basement, yes, is musty, but just airing out that basement for the past 3 months. Even my buddy comes in here and he's like 2 weeks later from the first time he came in here, he's just like, "Oh wow, like I don't smell anything." You know what I mean? I said, "Yeah, because it's drying out." And the thing is okay, the winter and the spring are gonna be a test for this place of how musty it actually gets. But so far, I'm like, okay, yeah, I haven't done Operation Javix yet, but I don't smell the dog anymore. You know what I mean? I really don't smell the dog anymore. But that's because that couch that was in here, the dogs were sleeping on it, right? Your eyes were watering when you walked by it. The moldy food in the fridge, the moldy food on the counter. You guys saw what I did, right? Once you get all that stuff, that's where all the smell was coming from. That's what was making them, sick and whatever. You know what I mean? The like my nephew's still kind of terrified of the place, kind of like, oh, there's mold down there, there's mold down there. I'm like, oh, it's not really. So I brought him in and I said, look, I showed him what the mold looks like, and I taught him about it. Taught him this is how you deal with it. This is how you learn about it, stuff like that. And it's like you don't need to be afraid of it. You just need to understand what it is and how it occurs and why. And I explained why his dresser smelled like mold because of the linoleum, and I said the water was leaking from the shower into your room. and I said it was trapped under the floor, and nobody knew it. Like my brother wouldn't have known, right? So it's like, I figured it out just due to the fact that the top of the dresser was kind of damp, and I'm like, I looked up at the ceiling, and I'm like, well, the ceiling's bone dry, so it's not why was there a musty, moldy smell in this dresser? Like, where was it coming from? So I moved the dresser, and then I looked at the linoleum, and I peeled it back. Oh, okay. So, and then when I pulled it back, we found the big black spot there. And it's like, okay, so it's clearly coming from the shower, right? Uh, but we didn't know how. But then I discovered how it was. It was just leaking down the tub, down by the wall, and then into the other room. And then what was the solution? Just pull the curtain back a bit more. That was it. That was it. And then let it dry out. It's bone dry there on the floor there. It does, and then I vinegared it. Once I vinegared it once, it's like it seems like it's killed off most of the mold. I'm going to Javix again, and then I'm going to get the RPR 86. That's an actual mold killing product. And then at some point, I think I'm going to do the ozone treatment. Once I do that, like any sort of mold spores that are in here are going to be dead. But more importantly than that, you have to cut off the source that causes the mold: moisture, lack of ventilation. This place, I did not know if I was going to be putting that big turbine on the roof or not, but apparently I don't need it. It's just I have to open that hatch in the summer. Because, like I say, my brother didn't, they never really opened the window. Like, my brother put that plastic on that window and that window probably 10 years ago. You know what I mean? He didn't have it on that window, or that window or that window. But the other ones, I put new plastic on some of them just to keep a little bit of heat in, right? But the thing is that they never opened the windows, and the dogs were in here almost all the time. You put them out for a little bit during the day, but they were in here all the time, right? So the dogs were creating a lot of problems. Not that any fault of the dogs, but the dogs they weren't like Lacey, where you could just leave the window open and she'd go in and out at her own leisure, because she stayed in the yard. She didn't go in. These dogs, they got off the leash, they'd run, and my brother would have to chase them down. It was they just weren't trainable dogs. You know what I mean? And then about a week before he moved out, the one dog died of cancer. So the other one we got rid of. We got rid of her. So to somebody else, so they could take care of it, right? So, and it might be. Well, hopefully it works out there. But that said, there's no new dogs in the house up there. The only thing there is Missy the cat and the timeshare dog, aka Marley, my uncle's dog, who comes over approximately around breakfast and supper time, respectively. She's got perfect timing for that. But she doesn't stay in the house for hours and hours and hours. So she's in, everybody makes a fuss on her, we pet her. She does the Rumba vacuum cleaner thing and goes around the entire floor, eating everything off the floor. She gets her fill, and then she goes back home for more supper. But she's outside all the time. She's a long-haired dog, and she's outside all the time, and she's not out on the furniture, that kind of stuff, right? Meow Meow is up there, but Meow Meow, she stays outside because she's a feral cat, but she just happens to be tame enough that you can pet her and stuff like that, right? So the thing is that those problems haven't migrated up there. And then, of course, keeping the fridge clean, keeping the dishes clean. Like, dishes are done every night. You know what I mean? We've got a dishwasher up there, too. But the dishes are done every night. There's no, we clean out the fridge. We clean out there's no garbage that you saw me remove out of here. That's not allowed up there. My dad won't put up with that at all. Neither would I. And I think, like my brother does the dishes now because he's not overwhelmed with it. Like, there's not so many dishes on the counter that he's just like overwhelmed with it, right? And even she does the dishes from time to time, right? But she mainly cooks, so we don't mind doing the dishes, right? But what happened here is, I guess, just she wasn't cleaning the house while my brother was at work, and then it would just get, you saw the garbage that was in here, and it was literally garbage, right? The garbage was a big source of the thing. Like when got the first garbage can emptied. When I emptied that, that removed the smell there. So like there was a smell in that corner for about 2 weeks just because the garbage sitting there for so long, right? Now you don't smell it. Like the house is just not taking on any more bad smells. If anything, it's because of its airing out most of the bad smells. I'm sure, like if you put your nose right on the ground or something like that, you might still smell faint of it. But it's airing out. It's going away, and then of course, if it could, a place can take on bad smells. It can take on good smells. So like the bottles of Febreze, like I got like I don't know 8 bottles of Febreze that I found there, like half bottles of Febreze. Okay, so I just spray it once in a while. I don't really like that kind of stuff, but I'm going to use it up, right? And spray where it stunk the most. Like that corner smelled like dog the worst for whatever reason, even though, and then there because of where the couch was, and now you just don't smell it. And then of course now that I'm vacuuming, getting all whatever else is out of here, the airing out of the place is fine. The place is fine, you know. Anyway, I gotta wrap this up because I've been going for almost an hour now. It's amazing what you could just sit and talk about. But at least I got something done today. Didn't get the recording started, but that's okay. Probably Sunday. We'll see. If not, sometime next week, I'll be doing lots of recording, depending on what the snow's doing. Yeah. So anyway, there we go. That's where I'm at. There we go.